The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones is a horror novel. I started it on the 12th of March and finished it on the 26th of March this year. I read it as a hard book, 431 pages, and I absolutely adored this book. It was amazing. It's a slow reveal in terms of what's happening. So it's got some intertextuality where it starts with Etsy, who finds a journal of her great-grandfather, Arthur Buchan, I think that's how you say it, who was a Lutheran priest in 1912. And he's recording the confession of Goodstap, a Blackfeet Native American. And as the confession unfolds, Arthur realizes that Goodstap's confession is more than a fantastical story. Instead, it is a journey into the history of the Blackfeet Indians, stretching back to a massacre in 1860 of 217 Blackfeet murdered in the snow. And this is actually the inspiration behind the story by Stephen Graham Jones. And so this is a really wonderful horror novel that peels back layers of horror, both supernatural and human. I loved the voice of Goodstap and his use of the Native American vocabulary. It is a metaphor of the American genocide of the Native Americans. And as the story peels back, so does Americans' history of murder and pillaging stolen land, blood spilling, and the justifications for this. There were some quotes that I really loved that I really want to share. So on page 170, "I'm the worst dream America ever had." And I read that one, and it was a really pivotal moment in the book, and I just felt goosebumps. And then there is a dialogue between Goodstap and one of the characters. "How could you shoot us in our winter lodges? Because you were just Indians. These were different times with a different breed of men, the kind necessary to forge a new land, a better country." And so this interaction is on page 311. And it was so powerful because it's really an interaction between the racism and prejudice that motivated the genocide of the Native Americans and the justification that was used for this, for the betterment of the country. And it was just sublime the way that it was written. And then there was a quote from Etsy's point of view that I really enjoyed that was a bit comical, but still makes its point. "I give myself permission, thanks. It's what we white folks do." And so that's on page 413. And that's sort of what the heart of the story is. It is about white people forcing themselves on the land, stripping it of its resources, disrespecting it, and slaughtering the Indigenous people in order to get access to it. And so it's a really beautiful book because it is a horror novel and it's got that supernatural horror element, but the heart of the story is actually the story of the Native Americans and the story of the Blackfeet Native Americans and what happened to them, and through that story, what happened to the history of America, which is also parallel to the history of every land that has been colonised, including Australia. So if you are into horror, I mean, I would still argue this is horror, but it is also like a crime novel. I would really, encourage you to read it. It is an absolutely amazing, beautiful book. I love Stephen Graham Jones. I'm going to be reading more of his books. So there's a previous book he has that was The Good Indian, that it's called. So I want to check that out. So he is an author that I will definitely be reading. I also just wanted to do a shout out to my daughter. This is a book that she found. She loves horror books and she read it and she was like, "This is amazing, you have to read it." And she's such a sophisticated reader who kind of sees a lot of plot twists coming And so as soon as she recommended this book really highly and was like, you have to read this one, it is amazing, I knew that in terms of plot and story and characterization and everything that matters in a book, it was going to be amazing, and I have to say it delivered. So I would really encourage you to check out The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones, which is a horror, but I would also claim a crime. Every year I read 20 books a year and I track it through the Goodreads Reading Challenge. This year I'm doing something different. I am recording my reading in this journal I got from Quirky Cup Collective. I want it to go deeper and engage more with my reading.